from UK. He's joining. So he's facing some technical issues, but I think we can start, okay, and then Matt will join. So I think this is a very interesting topic, by the way, like data management and protection, so all about data. So we'll be talking about data. So when we talk about data today, like it is not only archival, but how actually you can get inference out of data that you are storing, and that will help knowing your customers better, doing smart recommendations, and of course some other things comes into picture like the security, governance, and also you need to see like to do so probably you want to build a data lake, right? And then data marts within that. Probably a customer 360-degree data lake. So how to bring all data from different sources. It could be structured, unstructured, semi-structured, streaming data, and then do transformation. Okay, if you don't do transformation, then definitely you are not going to get any kind of meaning out of that data. And then you run the actual analytics on top of that, or any of your AI engines, AI machine learning engines on top of that. So I think we'll try to discuss a bit on all, and we'll see like how we can. Yeah, Matt has joined. Hey, Matt. Hey, can you hear us? Yeah, but unfortunately we can't hear you. Yeah, I think some technical challenges, so they're trying to solve it. Yeah, Matt, will you please speak so that we can... Yeah, just give us a couple of seconds, Matt. Still some challenges hearing you. Yeah, we can see you, yeah.
Shall I keep talking to see whether this is working?
Yes, so we are all set. We are all set, Matt. Now we can hear you loud and clear. So thank you so much for joining. And Matt is, for the audience, Matt is joining from London. Matt, we have just started, so I was just setting the context essentially like how data is so important, right? So probably I'll go to you first, right? Matt, as I see your background, right? So you have seen both the customer side and also the vendor side, right? So how do you see like the customers are actually getting affected, right? And how they are also contributing towards going for a data-driven kind of a decision and those kind of things. So you can bring both the sides, right? The customer side as well as the vendor side. So Matt, to you.
Thanks very much. Yeah. So and thank you very much for having me. And I'm looking very, very large on the stage there, floating above you. Yes, as you mentioned, my background really is around sort of market data, distribution, architecture, both on the customer side and the vendor side, and that's aggregating and distributing data around investment banks and other large-scale enterprises. So I think some of the challenges that we've seen, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about the challenges we've seen, and how more importantly, how we're moving on from that. And I think some of the ways that really we've seen progress is around the build out of dedicated teams. Everyone talks about data scientists, and there's some very esteemed colleagues on the panel here, but really it's around the data engineers. That role has become specialized, bringing data engineers on site to actually create standards, improve the cataloging and storage of the data, making sure that all the data sets comply to industry and to bank standards, maturing where that data store comes from. So I think one of the little phrases that we've been using recently is taking the problem to the data, not the data to the problem. I think that's one of the big challenges previously we've had, is bringing data into all of our customer sites and having to store it, catalog it, give access to it, and then derive that value. Rather than that, pick the problem up, move it out to where the data is, and then actually just run your queries, do your analysis, get your value, and then come back from there. And I think that's really one of the major maturing aspects of a lot of our customers, but also a lot of the vendors, such as ourselves at London Stock Exchange, trying to build a platform hosted, cloud hosted access, putting all of our data sets out there in a similar consistent approach in terms of entitlements, authentication, purchasing. That removes a lot of that pain for a lot of our customers. I think that one of the big evolutionary steps is that we've realized that the new generation of end users, they expect ease of access, they expect no proprietary coding, no proprietary APIs, no steep learning curve to get access to the value of the data straight away. And also not having to deal with humans to procure that data as well. So the account teams and the relationship building is still important for some. Others just want to bypass all of that and get access straight to the data. And I think that's really where the future is, making it as easy, seamless, transparent, and quick for the customers to get access to data, run their queries, run their simulations, derive the value, and then exit that, and then pick up a bill at the end of the day. And that's a massive change from probably where we were 5 or 10 years ago, where it was all about large databases, putting more service into data centers. All of that's going by the wayside, and people really are looking the other way now. They want to shrink the data center footprint and make it even easier to get that access.
Oh, well said, Matt. And I like that, like taking data to the problem and not problem to the data. Am I correct, right? That's what we said, right? So that's
the other way around.
Oh, okay. Other way around. Okay, sorry. But that's brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. So with that, I'll go to Shashank. Yeah. So Shashank, so you are coming from a little bit different this thing, right? And probably you can talk a little bit on the privacy issues today, the security, and also governance part of it. Like how this thing are also is, and also are those a hindrance to the process, or these are like the need of the day, and how it is happening, Shashank?
Yeah, right part of it. So, obviously taking cue from Matt and our topic. So I guess data is really important, and data is the new oil, and there are so many jargons nowadays. And this is known to the hacking community also. So they have crafted, if you see nowadays, ransomware kind of attacks, which are typically targeting the data. They are no more concerned about bringing down your service by some network attack or bringing down your availability for that matter. They're totally concentrated on your data. And I guess pretty much, we take understanding from that side to kind of secure our data. And obviously the new norms of privacy and of understanding what exactly the data points are, because the data integrity is also a huge challenge when it comes to so many different teams accessing same data, maybe churning it and analyzing it. So I mean, data protection is not just a security thing, it's also, I guess, one of the needs from the tech side. The engineering vertical also requires a lot of data masking and trying to adhere to what APIs are getting exposed to which party, third party. Because the moment we start sharing data without understanding the governance around it, the challenge would actually be that whether we could have made much more sense out of it, much more business out of it. So obviously, security gives the answers from secure gateways, from, as I said already, understanding what data you are having, classifying data as an asset rather than classifying different businesses and different dimensions. So I guess data should be the center of cyber strategy also. And I guess it has been, we have been trying to secure, data, but I guess it is now driving from a new age vertical when we see a lot of decentralized applications, a lot of cloud-based approaches being taken in the infrastructure side. And also on the analytics side, we see the advent of next generation of analytic engines, which are, kind of not just looking at, data from a sense of, kind of understanding our customer behavior, but also trying to give you new patterns wherein you can create new products and sell. So I mean, it is getting harnessed from the other way. So I guess security has to sit in with all of them, so as to understand that where the value add is coming from and where the slippage can occur. So I mean, it is all about leakage is all about understanding the flow of the data. If I understand end-to-end data flow of each and every system, then I will be able to prevent the leakage. I mean, it is how I keep it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you are saying that although probably for the developer community it is a little bit of hindrance, because again it is a bit of extra work for them. But overall, if you see this is required for an organization looking at the IT landscape today and the security challenges that those that are coming. So I think this is the need of the day, right? Okay. So with that, I will come to Haryyaksha. So you are the chief data scientist. So I think I'll ask you more on the how this entire data system is important when we talk about building AI, ML, and a lot of analytics for the organization. And because I am also coming from similar kind of a background, and that's what I also have been doing. So what are your thoughts on those? Yeah.
See, in order to set up a successful data science practice, and I will speak primarily from an in-house perspective, because the organizational structure or the way a data science service provider or vendor will operate will be fairly different. So I'll primarily speak from an in-house perspective. So in order to let's say make the best use of data, the first aspect about setting up a successful data science practice is aligning to the organization and the maturity or the evolution of the organization. So typically you'll see that in a very nascent state of data science, most of the data science will be happening in silos. There will be separate teams, and it will be fairly decentralized. And that's where, when you set up a data science team, it has to be centralized to a large extent, because that kind of helps in creating a brand within the market, that there's a new data science practice that is coming up within an organization, helping to attract talent and all that. The challenge with a centralized practice of data science, however, is that you can never keep the same pace with the business requirements. So sooner or later, as the practice matures, you have to shift to a model like an analytics center of excellence, which basically is again a centralized structure, but then it is more like it consists of experts and specialists from different teams who together form that centralized team. And beyond that, as the requirements grow even more, where even the departments start wanting their own teams, that's when you go for a hub and spoke model, where there's a central team still maybe responsible for data governance, AI, ML governance, hiring, etc. But the execution is still done as spokes within the different departments. Now, once the structure is set, the next thing will be on creating the team, defining the roles. So now here is one consideration, whether you want to outsource bulk of it, whether you want to in-house part of it. What kind of team experts you will have. Let's say data engineers, BI experts, data scientists. You might also look at, let's say, bridge roles, for example, like interpreters who will be the bridges between the other departments, data stewards who will be basically specialists who will focus on the data quality management across. And maybe citizen data scientists will be like, sitting in the various departments and kind of the future layer who will be broad-basing the democratization of data science across teams. Once the team is set, then the next question becomes, how do you essentially set up the data fabric, the technical architecture, Do you want to, let's say, bring in an in-house tool for auto ML, or let's say ML ops? So that is on the capability side, and then comes data governance, then comes security and all that. That is on the capability side. But alongside capability, there are other two aspects, towards setting up a successful data science practice, which is on the credibility and the culture aspects. So to create a team, to create this infrastructure, you need to establish a certain credibility and a culture where you get the budget approvals. The first step on that regard is looking at the business problems and working out a certain roadmap, creating some kind of a size of prize, assigning value to each of the data science initiatives so that you get a buy-in from the business, because analytics or data science executed in silos never see the light of day. They are never successful. And as you build the credibility and culture, what also becomes important is creating those success factors and choosing your initiatives where you can show early success, because that gives you the buy-in, and then it kind of becomes a virtuous cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've got a follow-up question for you. I definitely see, probably now if you see like data engineering and data science both goes hands in hand, but still there is a what you call borderline between these two.
Right.
And many a times from my experience, I have seen that bridging that gap is very, very important in many cases. From your experience, how do you see it?
Right. So see, when the term data scientist came to the market in the first place, the expectation was that it will be someone who has expertise in both data wrangling or data blending, data massaging management, preparation and transformation, as well as the data science part or the AI/ML part. But nowadays, as things are getting more specialized, we are seeing that these roles have kind of got segregated or different. So data engineers are now being responsible primarily on the data side, on the data preparation side, where the data scientists are primarily responsible only on the the algorithmic rigor. But that is creating some kind of again within a team and intra-team silo, because if the data scientist is only working with data, only focusing on the algorithmic rigor, what happens is the business perspective kind of gets takes a second place, because unless and until you understand the data, you understand the nuances of the data, you might not be able to come up with the best analysis.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So a similar experience that I also have. So with that, I will go to Subrata. And how do you see this emerging trend of data adoption? Okay, probably in your industry, and also you can share some lights on any other industries that you look at. Yeah.
No, thanks for that, Utpal. So I can, what I'll try to do is give a context on the broad problem that we're trying to solve. In light of that, and come to how data is playing such a big role in shaping up the trends. So at Ugro Capital, we are working on solving the credit needs of the MSME sector of India. The MSME sector of India is, we all know there are 8 crore SMEs that contribute to 1/3 of India's GDP, but largely it is deprived of formal credit, at least as of today. But it is very essential for the growth of the country that they grow, and they will grow when they get access to credit. There is, in this, we believe that data and technology has a massive role to play, and it will completely revolutionize the way credit is given to SME sector. We have seen in the last decade how consumer lending, such as credit cards, personal loans, on-tap credit, this has been completely revolutionized, and they're available very quickly with all the heavy duty running in the background. And the same is likely to happen in the SME space. With that being said, there are 3 trends, and trends are largely defined by how the customers are behaving and what they need. And they are in turn linked to what is happening in the data ecosystem. First and foremost, there's a big advent of alternate data, which is expanding the target universe. So what do I mean by that? In the past decade, we have seen that SME lending is done by formal income assessment and through a branch-driven distribution channel with physical interactions. Now that that leaves out a set of the SMEs where they cannot, there's a small entities across the length and breadth of the country who are unable to come up with an audited financials and a balance sheet. And thus many of the time they're missing out. But as lenders, we are all realizing that if we have alternate data on them, then it is possible to assess them. It is possible to understand that they may not have a track record, but their business is resilient and robust, and if funds are given to them, then they will grow. In other words, traditional financial assessment is making way to cash flow assessment. And that is possible because of alternate data, such as bank statement data, such as GST transaction data, such as trade data, which is perhaps coming from a platform where they're doing their business. And all that is expanding the target segment. And we are able to cater in a much more formal way, the next crore and the next crore of the SME universe. I think the second thing is about the customer behavior itself. A lot of this data to be used in decision making and help the end customer, the data has to be given by the customer himself. There's an element of consent. Of course, Shashank was speaking of privacy and security. Customer consent is critical, and the customers are also realizing that it is in their best interest, to give the data. Not until too long ago, we were thinking about how to reduce ask from the customer. I mean, you should ask less so that he is not disturbed. Do not ask too much paper, not too much information. Customers also are willing to only give as much as is necessary. Based on our experience, when we started, and we are now in the 4th year of operations. Of course, we are growing very fast in the post-pandemic area regime. Arguably, this has fostered digitization and data. We have seen that 3.5 years back, when we said a customer that you please give a bank statement and a GST record, GST, 20% customers would give it by choice. So we kept it optional. Fast forward to today, 100% of customers are giving bank statement as well as GST because they realize that when a lender has access to both, all they need to do is give an OTP or just a password. But if the lender has access to that data, it is incredibly rich. They can take a faster decision, which in turn results in credit given to them. And last but not the least, there is a tremendous systemic push in creating scalable machinery to take these products to the end customer. And example of systemic push is bringing the data to the lender. Example is account aggregator. OCEN needs no introduction. Secondly, something like co-lending, where we have, as NBFCs and many NBFCs have developed niche expertise in these areas. And co-lending is giving them the access to credit to scale these things up, access to credit at an affordable price. And again, the whole data ecosystem and the ML AI expertise. It is not just the algorithms themselves, it is a data pipeline starting with APIs. Gone are the days where we are just having a legacy RDBMS structure, but today the data structures are evolving. The ability to make these algorithms, the ability to have a complex rule engine and deploy them in the customer journey. All that space is, and none of these things are really very new. They have been existing for a while, but the pace at which we are adopting and the pace at which these things are getting more and more sophisticated to cater to an end goal, I think that is really taking up a lot of pace. I think those would be the trends that we see, and at the heart of that is the explosion that we see in the data space, all set to really revolutionize the industry.
Absolutely, Subrata, absolutely. I think probably some of the points that you have made is very interesting, like it is not only the data and AI, ML kind of things, but I think to start with that API economy, open banking kind of ecosystem, if it is bank or open API economy kind of ecosystem is also very, very important, because until and unless you have got an ecosystem wherein you can connect with your internal as well as external systems in a very systematic manner, right, with all kind of securities, all kind of regulatory compliance things inbuilt into that, probably a middleware comes into picture, wherein, so then probably that is the first step for your digitization journey, right? I mean, before going into data, AI, ML and all those things, of course, those things are there. So with that, I will go back to Matt, and Matt, he has been listening to us quietly for some time. So Matt, how do you see that customers are basically contributing or changing this strategies, right? And what kind of a ROI that has been able to build with this data ecosystem, and also monetizing this data. What are different ways to do that? So what are your thoughts on that, Matt? Because we'd like to know, from your country and from your business point of view.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and some really good points up on the stage there as well, I think, and just shows, again, across the different markets and across the different segments, different ways of approaching the same challenge, but we're all trying to do the same thing. And I think the ROI, the return on investment piece is key. We're not doing this for fun. We're trying to find rationalization, and we're trying to drive economies, making cost saves, but also finding value sooner as well. Now, obviously, storage and connectivity to the cloud is a big opportunity. I mentioned it just a few minutes back. I would say 95% of the customer conversations I'm having right now are related to how they can do what they're doing on premise, but out in the cloud. Either doing exactly what they're doing, or how they can transform their business, either across the board or just specific business units, specific business challenges. And I think that's one of the big enablers that you're going to see across all of the different industries. The ability to, well, frankly, and if there's any kind of central tech teams, and gentlemen talking security probably won't like this, but the centralized technology teams in a lot of our customer sites add a tax on innovation. They slow that innovation down, they add overheads, and a lot of the business aligned units that are looking for problems to solve are now being able to sidestep that. They're able to develop straight against the problem. They're taking our ESG data, social news sentiment scoring, blending that with streaming and historical data, combining all of that maybe with their own internal books and with their own internal trade signals, creating some value really, really quickly, that fail fast mentality, identifying something, building it out, getting it out into the front office, into the trade desks, seeing if it's fit for purpose, and then continually iterating through that, and then turning it into a production service. So it's really exciting times. It's changing fundamentally the way that we engage with each other and with our customers, and it's exciting times. I would say from a couple of years ago, I think there was probably now, probably pre-COVID actually, there was a study that Refinitiv carried out with its member base, and interestingly, for every dollar that was spent on data, procuring data from someone, another $6 to $7 was actually spent on managing that data as well. And that needs to change. I mean, that's a huge tax to pay. So removing that as a blocker is immediately going to improve your return on investment, because you don't have to have that big upfront capex. You don't need to say, okay, I'm going to go and buy a couple of servers, I'm going to get them racked and stacked in my data center, I'm going to have someone else build and secure it, I'm going to need to find a few $100,000 and going to wait 9 months for that to happen. Now, you know, the swiping of the credit card and away you go, and you can be up and running in a matter of weeks. And that really is the massive step change that we're seeing. And as a result, across the industry and within Refinitiv and LSEG, we've also had to change approach there as well. Move away from talking about products and talking much more about solutions. So what is the problem we're trying to solve? How can we help you solve it? How can we help you solve that without you having to have 20 years of experience? Maybe you want to use standard API, standard terminology, a data model that's industry recognized. These are kind of the changing demographics, the younger user base that we're working with. Like I say, it's exciting times, it's challenging times, but that's what's really going to drive that return on investment, where you don't need to be investing a whole ton of money. You can fail fast, bring in vendors, partners, solution consultants, whiteboard, ideate a problem, and get that up and running in a matter of days or weeks. That's really exciting, and that's where we're going to really drive the industry to, where we're going to be seeing those benefits a lot quicker.
Absolutely, Matt, and I think good stuff. Well said. So with that, I will come to Shashank again, and probably this will be again a follow-up question to My first question to you, basically, so now the privacy rules are getting more and more stringent, right, every day. So considering that, I mean, on the regulatory front, how do you see that some changes are already happening, or something is going to happen, or probably some changes need to be done on the regulatory framework, or something very revolutionary that is going to come in the RegTech or regulatory area? How do you see that? Yeah, considering data at the center stage.
Yeah, very rightly said. I mean, taking you both from Subrata as well as Matt, user consent, what Subrata said, and what Matt said, that, just swiping a credit card, you can, bring up your data infrastructure. And then, understanding that this is so easy that, even individual business orgs or even within the enterprise, there would be business teams who would be taking, data as a service kind of model from different data service providers for their particular business needs. And it is not flowing through a centralized, data flow. And then it comes the privacy norms, because privacy is getting more aware. As I see, tech companies, like Apple, for example, sells iPhone with the privacy and security norm. I mean, with the kind of hardware which Apple has, it does not need privacy to sell its phone, but it is still keeping privacy in the center of iPhone while making the advertisement. So it makes the end users more and more aware of their data privacy. And as the user awareness increases, the age of consent, the age of once I'm no more using your services, I want my data to be purged. This kind of requirements start arising. And when it comes to of understanding end-to-end where exactly we have kept the user data, it becomes a nightmare, because we might be using different technologies for different purposes, and which we might have truncated that user data for different purposes. So, but we have to purge it, because as you rightly said, even regulatory frameworks are getting revolutionized, and they are bringing in technical tools to really audit and trying to understand where the data flow is happening and everything. So it is the technical revolution is on the horizon. As I said, it has been fast-paced post-COVID. Subrata was saying that before COVID, tech adoption was considerably less, but now, as I said, even the business teams, they are more aware, and they are much more leveraging technology or maybe cloud products to start analyzing data for their particular needs. It is just not the operations and other fields. Even, for example, like digital marketing, they want to understand more about user insight so that they can target certain user groups. Or in a typical B2C environment, because once you understand the user profiles, you can create those campaigns on social media and everything. So it is all getting linked, and the increased awareness on the regulatory side is also very enlightening, because they also understand that the data is being shared across different horizons, and it is regulatory is always in the best interest of end customer. So they try to design any framework which would actually assist the end user, to kind of obviously understand its privacy norms and his data, set of requirements. So I guess, yes, RegTech is going to come. I guess RegTech would actually, we would have, I see a horizon wherein regulatory bodies are asking API-driven requests to, start their audit process. So it would be just an API request. Maybe, that is not the future, it is already there, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. We hope so. I mean, it is kind of just a API request, and you get all the regulatory parameters. Of course, that's a long way to go. Even I was thinking in the similar line, because somehow I always felt that the technological explosion that has happened in probably last decade or a couple of years, you can say, I think regulators somehow are a little bit behind the explosion that has happened, right? And somehow we'll have to bring them into the same table or to the same page. And I think RegTech is going to play a very important role here, because again, the technological explosions are happening not within the government, it is either in the academia or within the tech companies, right? And there are very few forums available today, I mean, across the globe, if you look at, wherein the technology people and the regulators can sit across the table and they can discuss kind of thing. So I think RegTech is going to bridge that gap, and it is going to bring a different kind of a revolution altogether into this thing. So thank you, Shashank, for that great insight. So with that, I will go to Haryyaksha, and again, probably the questions are on the similar line. So, I mean, normally we see data strategy should be linked with your business strategy, right? And the same goes for the AI and ML. So ultimately, it is that. What are some of the common challenges that you see, or probably common mistakes, or probably could it be some kind of a trap for some organizations, right? If the decisions are not, or the strategies are not made in the right way. Do you see?
The common pitfalls that lead to a loss of credibility of a practice, or let's say failure of a data science practice. First is running initiatives in silos. So I am a firm believer that any data science initiative or any AML initiative, without having the explicit go ahead with the business teams, is bound to fail, because you will never have you cannot sustain it. There will be no sponsor for it, and without a business sponsor, it is just a theoretical thing that you're creating. So the first thing is running things in silos, running things without having a value, an outcome value or business impact or business value attached to any of the AML initiatives. The second thing is the other side of it, which is becoming too algorithm focused and losing touch with the business reality. So many a times we see that data scientists, they become, let's say, too much focused on how to come up with a better scorecard or a better model, and losing touch with the real requirement of business. And that has also led to one of the things that you just highlighted, which is the separation of a data engineer and a data scientist role. Because as per me, the best data scientist is someone who knows how to manage data and how to prepare data, how to quickly visualize the data in a BI interface, and also be equally good in the algorithm side of it. So the second pitfall is becoming too algorithm focused and losing touch with the business reality. Third one, as a practice leader or one of the practice heads, is allowing manual interventions run amok. And that has got serious security concerns as well, because many a times we will see that in an organization where the data layer has been successfully implemented, and as Matt was saying also, that for every dollar that we spend on data infrastructure, 6 or 7 times of it is spent on managing it. And one of the key challenges of that is allowing manual interventions, even though you have a very robust system. Because the moment you start creating manual reports, Excels floating around, not only you are creating that huge management problem, but you're also creating a security problem. Then, because the next extreme case of it is seeing PII information floating in WhatsApp messages and screenshots, which creates nightmares for people like Shashank. And of course, there are many other pitfalls, but the fourth biggest one that I feel is, another key challenge that one might face is, getting too focused on tools and platforms instead of the data aspect. So, as a data scientist, one needs to have in-depth understanding of the data that one is working with. Otherwise, inevitably, you are bound to come up with wrong insights.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think well said. And finally, I can see. AI, ML, data analytics, everything. I think there are two aspects to that, right? So one is, of course, enhancing the customer-facing applications. Okay, probably you can say experience. Utility, okay? It is not only experience, probably utility is also there. And second thing is the back-end applications, because see, if you are promising that within 72 hours, I'm going to disburse you loan, right? Your back-end system should be agile enough, okay, to support that. So I think these are two areas, and of course, intelligence inbuilt that. And we, as a technology company, always promise that customer is at the center stage, okay? But is that really happening, Subrata? I think, is it, are we getting any kind of feedback from the customer that whatever circus we are doing, okay, is it actually customer is getting benefited? Because now there are things coming up, right? So if you are using a ML model, okay, for any purpose, probably for recommendation, for any kind of risk assessment and all, customer wants to know what exactly is happening inside that, okay? So that's how the explainable AI or explainability or interpretability came into picture. And that is also now part of a customer experience today, right? So customer wants that. They don't want it like a black box. So what are your views on that? Like if you consider the customer, if you look at from the customer angle?
Again, a great question, Utpal. And I would say that we stick to basics. We try to understand what the customer wants, and then we solve for it. If time permits, I'll spend a line on explainable AI. But the first things first, what the customer needs. In our line of business, we are trying to give loan to SME. The customer needs two things. He wants a loan, and he wants it to be serviced quickly, and he expects a reasonable process in reasonable time frame. Our job is to appreciate that there is a great deal of diversity in this need within the broad umbrella of SME lending. So what would be an example? It's important that I define that. So the dimensions are, let's say, the industry and the sub-industry of the business. So a nursing home is different from a dentist, different from a retail shop. All of them have very different natures of business. Second is the size and scale of the entity. So there's an established company running for 10 years with a turnover of 30 crores. There's a starting stage small retailer who's doing 3 years of business. And lastly, the need. Somebody needs a business expansion loan for 5 crore rupees versus somebody needs a small loan for a short-term need. As a combination of these things, the situation may be very different. For a long time, we have solved this in a one-size-fits-all way, which means largely 2 or 3 broad solutions fitting to everybody, which means that we have served some people well and left out some people. And now coming to your main question, I think effective data management and using all this benefit, we should be able to give the right solution in the right scenario. And I will give 2 contrasting examples. One is a customer who's very well established, needs a large loan for business expansion. In this situation, the customer will be probably catered to by all banks, and the customer is choosing a bank based on who gives him highest amount of money at a lowest rate and at the shortest time. If I have to cater or get that opportunity or serve that need well, then we should be using data to do that, and it is possible. So to give him a little discount of a rate of 50 basis points rate discount, I need to understand the risk is lesser. And this is the realm of predictive modeling. If you are sharper, you have that advantage. If you have to give him a little more amount, then tools like cash flow projection, forecasting, these things come into play. On the other hand of the spectrum, we have a small MSME who has bagged an order of 5 lakh rupees for which he needs to procure 2 lakh rupees of worth of material. To do that procurement, he needs 2 lakh rupees today. It is important, otherwise he will not be able to service that order, lose out on that business. Now here it is not as much important to understand the track record. The person needs that today. As a lender, we need to understand that his business need is genuine and he and the buyer has a strong relationship. If he does that need, he will get the money back. Again, one can do this by triangulating banking and GST together. So 2 very different examples, but through the point I'm trying to make is through effective data and the entire data pipeline, one can develop tools and deploy them so that through technology there is delivery mechanism, and you can actually cater to both situations through curated problems, to curated solutions as a lending solution. And I think the broad answer to your question is that, so data management really helps us to cater to not only these 2, but a lot more of such situations in a customized way. And I think that future is in that direction.
Absolutely, absolutely, Subrata. So actually, I was enjoying this conversation, gentlemen, but I mean, looking at the time, I think we have got only 2 minutes now, and I would like to open this floor for any questions, if there are any. Okay, so I think hearing none. So we are also available, all our panelists are available outside. And so, I mean, during networking, if you have any questions, definitely you can ask. Thank you so much, Matt, from joining from there. And thank you for those valuable insights, right? I really, it was quite enlightening, and I learned a lot, because we always talk about the Indian context, but today I came to know a lot from the outside also, how it is happening. And thanks all, gentlemen, Subrata, Haryyaksha, and Shashank, for this great information. It was quite enlightening for me. And thanks, audience. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.